The vast emptiness of space stretched before Captain Lyra as she stood on the observation deck of the Starfall, her slender fingers tracing invisible patterns on the reinforced glass. The stars twinkled like distant promises in the void, each one a potential harbor for life, yet undiscovered. Beyond the transparent barrier, the outer rim of the Milky Way galaxy unfurled in a tapestry of cosmic dust and celestial bodies, a frontier that the Alum Alliance had only begun to chart. "Captain, we're approaching the designated coordinates for Beacon 9, announced the navigation officer, his translucent skin shimmering under the soft blue lights of the command center. Lyra nodded, her four eyes blinking in synchronized pairs, an evolutionary trait of her species that allowed for continuous observation even during necessary ocular maintenance. "Excellent. Prepare for docking procedures. I want a full system diagnostic before we establish permanent connection." The year was 2375 by Earth's calendar. Though Lyra had never set foot on the blue planet, few within the Alliance had. Humans remained an enigma, a species that had ventured beyond their solar system, but maintained a puzzling distance from the 15 alien species that formed the peaceful Alum Alliance. Intelligence suggested they were expanding their territories, building colonies, but official contact remained elusive. Beacon 9 hung in space before them, a marvel of cooperative engineering. The observation station rotated slowly to create artificial gravity, its modules extending like metallic petals from a central hub. Each section housed representatives from the different Alliance species, all united in their mission to monitor this unexplored region of space and potentially establish first contact with new civilizations. Major Wren emerged from the science bay, his movements deliberate and precise. As the Starfall's chief science officer, his insights had proven invaluable during their 2-year mission. "Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum fluctuations in this sector. There's something unusual about the subspace readings." Lyra turned to face him, her attention fully captured. "Unusual how, Major?" "Intermittent energy signatures that don't match any known propulsion systems in our database. They appear and disappear without pattern." Wren's voice remained calm, but the slight elevation in his body temperature, a physiological response his species couldn't control, betrayed his excitement. Could it be natural phenomena? Quantum fissures or dark matter interactions? Lyra suggested, already moving toward the main control panel. "Possibly, but the regularity suggests artificial origin. I've programmed our long-range sensors to alert us if the signature reappears." Wren followed, bringing up holographic displays of his findings. Ensign Saul, the Starfall's military advisor, approached with characteristic caution. His species evolved as apex predators, and despite generations of peaceful cooperation within the Alliance, that evolutionary heritage manifested in his constant vigilance. "Captain, with respect, if there are artificial signatures in this region, we should prepare defensive protocols. Let's not jump to conclusions. Ensign, we're explorers first, warriors second," Lyra responded, though she appreciated Sol's perspective. The Alliance had enjoyed centuries of peace, but history taught that complacency often preceded catastrophe. As the Starfall completed its docking procedures with Beacon 9, Lyra received the customary welcome from the station's governing council, 15 representatives, 1 from each Alliance species. The formalities proceeded as expected until a sudden alarm blared through the command center. "Long-range sensors activated," Wren called out, rushing to a station. "Energy signature detected. Massive scale." The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a distant section of space that appeared empty at first glance. Then, like a phantom materializing from nothing, a flash of red light pierced the darkness. For just a moment, less than 5 seconds, the sensors captured the outline of an enormous vessel before it vanished again. "Freeze image and enhance," Lyra ordered, her voice steady despite the tension building in the room. The computer complied, and the frozen image revealed a glimpse of what could only be described as a warship. Its hull was heavily armored, with multiple energy ports glowing with restrained power. A flag or emblem was partially visible, unfamiliar to anyone present. "Human," whispered Wren, the word falling heavily in the silence that had descended upon the command center. Lyra studied the image, taking in the aggressive design, the obvious weapon systems, the sheer scale of the vessel that dwarfed even Beacon 9. "We can't be certain. The configuration matches theoretical models based on intercepted communications," Wren insisted. "This is a human warship, Captain, and its capabilities. The energy readings suggest destructive potential beyond anything in the Alliance fleet." Saul stepped forward, his posture rigid. "Captain, we need to report this immediately to the Beacon 9 Council. This represents a potential threat to the entire sector." Lyra nodded slowly, her mind racing through protocols and diplomatic implications. "Agreed, but let's be measured in our assessment. We have an image and energy readings. Nothing more. No hostile actions have been taken against us." "Yet," Sewell added quietly. Within an hour, the Beacon 9 Council had convened an emergency session. Representatives from all 15 species gathered in the central chamber, their diverse physiologies creating a living mosaic of galactic biodiversity. Captain Lyra presented the findings, careful to stick to facts rather than speculation. "The vessel appeared briefly on our long-range sensors. We have no indication of its current location or intentions. Major Wren will provide the technical analysis." Wren stepped forward, activating a holographic display that hovered above the center of the chamber. "The energy signature suggests advanced propulsion technology, likely utilizing controlled quantum manipulation. What concerns me more is this." He highlighted several sections of the ship. "These appear to be weapon systems of unprecedented scale. Based on the energy output, a single discharge could potentially disable a station the size of Beacon 9. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. Representatives exchanged glances, some showing physiological signs of distress according to their species norms. The Quarian representative, whose crystalline body structure refracted light in patterns that conveyed emotion, displayed colors indicating deep concern. "If humans possess such technology and have chosen not to engage with the Alliance, we must question their intentions." "We should not assume hostility," countered the representative from Nebulon, whose species valued diplomatic solutions above all else. "Defensive capability does not necessarily indicate aggressive intent." "But secrecy does," Sewell interjected. "Why operate in shadows at the edge of our territory unless their purposes conflict with Alliance interests?" The debate continued, growing more heated as different perspectives clashed. Some council members advocated for immediate defensive measures, upgrading Beacon 9's shields, deploying additional patrol vessels, even considering preemptive action. Others urged caution, emphasizing the Alliance's foundational principles of peace and communication. Lyra observed the discussion with growing unease. The fear was palpable, spreading through the council like a contagion. Fear bred rashness, and rashness could lead to conflict. "If I may," she finally said, silencing the chamber, "I propose a middle path. We increase our monitoring capabilities and enhance Beacon 9's defensive systems, purely as precaution. Simultaneously, we dispatch a reconnaissance team to gather more information about this vessel and potentially establish communication." The council deliberated on Lyra's proposal, eventually reaching consensus. Beacon 9 would initiate shield upgrades immediately, while the Starfall would lead a small fleet of reconnaissance vessels to investigate the region where the human warship had been detected. As preparations began, Major Wren approached Lyra privately. "Captain, I've completed a more thorough analysis of the sensor data. There's something peculiar about the findings." "Explain," Lyra prompted, following him to a secluded workstation. The weapon systems we observed. They're immensely powerful. Yes, but there's no indication they were charged or targeting systems activated. And despite the advanced technology, I detected no communication signals, no subspace transmissions, no quantum entanglement messaging, nothing. Lyra considered this information. What are you suggesting, Major? I'm not certain, Wren admitted. But it's almost as if the ship wasn't expecting to encounter anyone. As if its presence here was accidental. Or reconnaissance of their own, Lyra mused. Either way, we need more information before the Council's fear drives us toward potential conflict. The following day, the Starfall led a fleet of 3 smaller vessels into the region where the human warship had been detected. Each ship maintained sensor vigilance, scanning continuously across all known frequencies and energy spectrums. For 18 hours, they detected nothing unusual. Space remained empty, silent, offering no clues about the mysterious vessel. The crew grew restless, tension building with each passing hour of uneventful patrolling. Captain, Sewell approached during the 19th hour. Perhaps we should extend our search parameters. The human ship could have traveled significant distance since our initial detection. Before Lyra could respond, the sensor officer called out, "Energy spike detected! Same signature as before!" All attention turned to the main view screen. At first, there was nothing then. As if tearing through the fabric of space itself, the human warship appeared. This time, it didn't immediately vanish. It remained visible, its massive form dwarfing the Alliance vessels. "Defensive positions," Lyra ordered calmly. "But no offensive measures. I want all sensors recording." The human ship moved with surprising grace for its size, adjusting its position until it faced the Alliance fleet directly. Red lights pulsed along its hull, creating patterns that seemed almost like a language. "They're scanning us," Wren reported, studying his instruments. "Comprehensive analysis. They're examining our hull composition, energy systems, life support." "Are our shields holding?" Sewell demanded. "Yes, but their scanners are remarkably invasive. They're gathering significant data about our capabilities." Lyra watched the behemoth vessel, noting the precision of its movements. "Any communications?" "None, Captain. No attempt to hail us on any frequency." The standoff continued for several tense minutes, neither side making aggressive moves, yet neither attempting communication. Then, without warning, the human vessel accelerated, passing the Alliance fleet and heading directly toward Beacon 9. "They're on an intercept course with the station," Sewell exclaimed. "Captain, we must respond." Lyra's mind raced through options. The human ship's speed far exceeded their own. They couldn't intercept it before it reached Beacon 9. "Hail Beacon 9. Tell them to activate all defensive systems but hold fire unless directly engaged. Then set pursuit course. Maximum sustainable velocity." By the time the Starfall and its accompanying vessels returned to Beacon 9, the human warship had taken position approximately 1,000 kilometers from the station. Its red scanning beams swept methodically across each module of Beacon 9, while the station's automated defense systems had activated in response. Targeting arrays locked onto the intruder. The council chamber had descended into chaos. Representatives argued vehemently about the appropriate response, fear and anger clouding rational thought. "It's scanning our entire infrastructure," the Quarian representative exclaimed. "This is clearly intelligence gathering for a future attack." "We should strike first," urged another council member. "While we have the advantage of our combined defensive systems, and potentially start an interstellar war," countered the Nebulan representative. "We know nothing about their capabilities beyond this single ship." Lyra entered the chamber, immediately sensing the panic that had taken hold. "Council members, please. We need clear heads now more than ever." "Captain Lyra," the council chair acknowledged her. "Your reconnaissance mission has clearly failed to deter this intrusion. The human vessel is now directly threatening our primary observation post in this sector. It has taken no hostile action, Lyra pointed out. Yes, it's scanning us, but it has made no attempt to breach our shields or target weapons. Yet, exclaimed a representative, we should act now, before it's too late. The station trembled slightly as the human ship adjusted its position, moving closer to one of Beacon 9's extended modules. The red scanning beams intensified, focusing on the communication arrays. Our automated defense systems are registering targeting solutions, reported a station officer. Protocols dictate that if the vessel approaches within 500 kilometers, countermeasures will activate automatically. Lyra felt the weight of the moment pressing down upon her. They stood at the precipice of potential first contact with humans, or the beginning of an interstellar conflict born of misunderstanding and fear. Disable the automated defense systems, she ordered suddenly. Gasps and objections erupted around her. Captain, that would leave us vulnerable, Sol protested. If they wanted to attack, they could have done so already, Lyra reasoned. Their technology clearly surpasses our own. I believe they're studying us, just as we've been studying them. This is an opportunity for contact, not conflict. After heated debate, the Council narrowly approved Lyra's proposal, with conditions. The automated defenses would be disabled temporarily, but all manual systems would remain on high alert, ready to activate at the first sign of aggression. As the defensive grid powered down, the human vessel's behavior changed. The intense red scanning beams dimmed, shifting to a softer hue. The ship itself moved backward, increasing the distance between it and Beacon 9. They're responding to our de-escalation, Wren observed, monitoring the readings from the science station. Energy signatures are changing, weapon systems powering down. A new pattern of lights flickered across the human ship's hull, gentler pulses that created complex sequences. Is that communication? Lyra wondered aloud. Possibly, Wren confirmed. The patterns have mathematical properties consistent with language. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, basic universal concepts. For the next several hours, the standoff transformed into a tentative exchange. The human ship would flash patterns of light, and after analysis, Beacon 9 would respond with similar sequences. No words were exchanged, no clear messages deciphered, but the foundation of communication was being established. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the human vessel retreated. Its engines flared briefly with blinding intensity, and it vanished into the depths of space, leaving behind only residual energy signatures. In the days that followed, the Alum Alliance held emergency sessions across multiple star systems. The encounter at Beacon 9 dominated discussions, with factions forming around different interpretations of the event. Some still viewed it as a prelude to invasion, others as a promising first step toward diplomatic relations with humanity. Captain Lyra found herself at the center of these debates, her decision to disable defenses scrutinized from every angle. Yet, she remained confident in her choice. Fear is the enemy of understanding, she told the High Council during her formal testimony. We had two paths before us, one leading to potential conflict, the other to potential communication. I chose the latter, and the human vessel responded in kind. This suggests a mutual interest in peaceful interaction. Eventually, the Alliance reached consensus on a path forward. Beacon 9 would be expanded, its research capabilities enhanced specifically to develop better understanding of human technology and communication methods. A dedicated first contact team would be assembled, comprised of the Alliance's most skilled linguists, diplomats, and cultural anthropologists. Captain Lyra was offered command of this initiative, a position she accepted with both honor and trepidation. The journey toward understanding had only just begun, and countless challenges lay ahead. But for the first time, the possibility of peaceful coexistence with humanity seemed within reach. As she looked out at the stars from Beacon 9's observation deck, Lyra reflected on how quickly fear could have driven them toward conflict. A single miscalculation, one hastily fired weapon could have altered the course of galactic history. Instead, patience and courage had opened a door to potential friendship. The stars seemed brighter somehow, each one a reminder of the infinite possibilities that awaited in the vast cosmos. If only they could overcome their fears and embrace the unknown with open hearts and minds. Major Wren hunched over his workstation, eyes fixed on the holographic display hovering before him. For weeks, since the encounter with the human warship, he had dedicated himself to analyzing every scrap of data collected during those tense hours. The light patterns, energy signatures, hull composition, all pieces of a puzzle he was determined to solve. "You're still at it." Captain Lyra's voice broke his concentration. She entered the laboratory with measured steps, her four eyes taking in the chaotic array of information surrounding the scientist. "Captain," Wren acknowledged, straightening his posture. "Yes, I believe I'm making progress in deciphering their communication attempt." Lyra moved closer, examining the patterns Wren had isolated. "Tell me, the light sequences weren't random. They followed mathematical principles." "Yes, but there was more." Wren manipulated the hologram, highlighting specific patterns. "Look here. This sequence repeated 3 times with slight variations. When I apply spectrographic analysis, the hologram transformed, revealing wavelengths that pulsed in distinct patterns." "Sound?" Lyra asked, surprised. "Not exactly, but convertible to sound using the right algorithms. The humans were sending data packets encoded in light, data that, when properly translated, forms audio frequencies." Wren's excitement was evident in his elevated body temperature. "They were trying to speak to us, Captain, not just establish mathematical common ground." "Have you deciphered any meaning?" Wren hesitated. "Not yet. The linguistic complexity is beyond our current understanding, but this confirms they were attempting true communication, not just scanning our defenses." This revelation spread quickly through Beacon 9, reinvigorating the research teams and tempering some of the lingering fears. The station hummed with renewed purpose as specialists from across the Alliance arrived to join the First Contact Initiative. Among them was Dr. Alara, the Alliance's foremost xenolinguist, whose work on interspecies communication had revolutionized translation technologies throughout Allied space. Her arrival caused considerable excitement, particularly for Wren, who had studied her methodologies extensively. "Dr. Alara," he greeted her at the docking bay, professional decorum barely containing his admiration. "Your presence here is invaluable. I've been applying your harmonic language principles to the human light patterns." The xenolinguist, whose species communicated partially through subtle bioelectric fields, smiled warmly. "Major Wren, your preliminary analysis was impressive. Few would have recognized the embedded data structures so quickly." Together, they established a dedicated communication lab within Beacon 9, combining their expertise with specialists from other disciplines. Progress came in small increments. A pattern identified here, a potential linguistic marker there. The work was painstaking, but each tiny breakthrough fueled their determination. Meanwhile, Captain Lyra faced challenges of a different nature. The political landscape within the Alliance had grown increasingly complex following the human encounter. Representatives from worlds closer to known human territories pushed for increased military preparedness, while others advocated for aggressive diplomatic outreach. "Captain, the Dorvian Assembly has formally requested permission to send a delegation directly into human space," reported her communications officer during one particularly tense meeting. "They're growing impatient with our methodical approach." Sol, who had remained skeptical of human intentions, shook his head. "Reckless. We still know too little about their societal structure or military disposition. Sending unauthorized delegations could be interpreted as provocative." Lyra sighed, feeling the weight of balancing caution with progress. Inform the Dorvian Assembly that all outreach must be coordinated through Beacon 9. We cannot risk fragmented approaches that might send mixed messages. As days turned to weeks, and weeks to months, Beacon 9 transformed. New modules were constructed, expanding its research capabilities and defensive systems simultaneously. The station's population swelled as specialists from across the Alliance arrived, all focused on the singular goal of understanding humanity and preparing for formal first contact. 4 months after the initial encounter, a breakthrough finally came, not from the communication lab, but from the long-range sensor array. "Captain to the observatory, immediately," came the urgent call over the station's communication system. Lyra arrived to find Ren and Dr. Alara already present, their expressions a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "What is it?" she asked, joining them at the main sensor console. "We've detected a small vessel approaching from the direction of human space," Ren explained, bringing up the sensor readings. "It's traveling at sublight speed, making no attempt to conceal its approach." Lyra studied the readings. "Configuration: not a warship," Ren confirmed. "The design appears civilian or scientific in nature. Minimal weapon signatures, strong communication array." "They're sending a messenger," Dr. Alara suggested. "A response to our encounter." Lyra felt hope rising within her, tempered by necessary caution. "Alert the Council, but keep this contained for now. No general announcement until we confirm intentions. And bring all defensive systems to standby, not active, but ready." The human vessel's approach was deliberate, its trajectory bringing it directly toward Beacon 9 at a steady, non-threatening velocity. When it reached the outer sensor perimeter, it stopped, maintaining position exactly at the boundary, a clear gesture of respect for Alliance space. Then it began transmitting. Unlike the light patterns of the warship, this communication came in clear radio waves, structured in repeating sequences that the communication officers immediately recognized as a first contact protocol, similar to those used within the Alliance. "They're sending mathematical constants," reported the communication specialist. "Pi, the fine structure constant, hydrogen atom resonance frequencies, universal concepts." "Respond in kind," Lyra ordered. "Mirror their protocol but include our standard peaceful contact identifiers." The exchange continued for hours, progressing from mathematical concepts to simple symbolic representations. With each iteration, the communication grew more complex, building a rudimentary shared language. Finally, after nearly 10 hours of this methodical exchange, the human vessel transmitted something new, an image. It appeared on Beacon 9's main view screen, drawing gasps from everyone present. The image showed a human, standing beside what appeared to be an Alliance representative of the Nebulan species. Both figures had their appendages extended toward each other in gestures of greeting. Above them was a simple symbol that needed no translation: 2 stellar bodies orbiting a common center, unity and cooperation. "They want to meet," Lyra whispered, the significance of the moment washing over her. Face to face. The Council convened immediately, debating the proper response to this unexpected development. The historic importance was undeniable, but security concerns remained paramount. "We cannot simply invite them aboard Beacon 9, argued one representative. "The risk is too great. And refusing their overture could damage this fragile connection," countered another. "We've worked too hard to establish communication." After hours of deliberation, a compromise was reached. The meeting would take place on neutral ground, a small, uninhabited moon orbiting a gas giant in a nearby system. Both parties would be limited to a single vessel and a small delegation. Security protocols would be established and agreed upon in advance through continued symbolic communication. When Lyra transmitted this proposal to the human vessel, the response came quickly, a simple, affirmative signal, followed by coordinates and a suggested time frame that aligned perfectly with the Council's proposal. "They've been studying us longer than we realized," Wren observed. Their understanding of our decision-making processes appears substantial, which means we know far less about them than they know about us, Sewell added, his ingrained caution surfacing once again. Then this meeting is even more essential, Lyra concluded. We need to begin balancing that knowledge disparity. Preparations for the historic encounter consumed the next 2 weeks. The delegation was carefully selected, representatives from 5 Alliance species, including Lyra herself, along with specialists in various disciplines. Dr. Alara would lead the communication team, while Wren focused on scientific exchange. Sol, despite his reservations, was included for security oversight. The chosen moon orbited its gas giant parent in the Proxima system, a location equidistant from Beacon 9 and the current position of the human vessel. Its surface was barren but stable, with breathable atmosphere generators established by both parties in advance of the meeting. As the Alliance vessel descended toward the designated landing zone, Lyra observed the human ship already positioned nearby. It was elegant in design, clearly built for diplomacy rather than warfare, with smooth lines and transparent sections that revealed glimpses of the interior. "Life signs?" she asked, as their ship settled onto the lunar surface. 17 humans aboard their vessel, reported the sensor officer. 5 have exited and are waiting at the designated meeting point. Lyra took a deep breath, centering herself for the moment that would define her career, perhaps define the future of interstellar relations entirely. Final equipment check. Remember, we follow the established protocol exactly. No unexpected movements or gestures. The Alliance delegation exited their vessel in careful formation, each member wearing an environmental suit calibrated to their specific physiological needs. The lunar landscape stretched before them, gray and austere, the gas giant looming enormously in the sky above. And there, standing in a small group beside a portable shelter structure, were the humans. Lyra had studied the biological information gleaned from long-distance observation. But seeing humans in person was entirely different. They stood upright on 2 limbs, their bodies covered in what appeared to be ceremonial attire rather than environmental suits, suggesting either remarkable adaptation or sophisticated protection technology invisible to the eye. One human stepped forward as the Alliance delegation approached. It, or rather, she, based on the biological markers Lyra had studied, had dark skin and close-cropped hair. Her expression seemed open, though Lyra was still learning to interpret human facial configurations. The human stopped at precisely the agreed-upon distance and raised both hands, palms forward, the gesture that had been established as peaceful greeting during their preliminary communications. Lyra stepped forward from her delegation and responded with the equivalent gesture from her physiological tradition, a gentle illumination of the bioluminescent patches along her forearms. For a moment, silence stretched between them, the weight of history palpable in the thin lunar atmosphere. Then the human spoke, the sound captured by the Alliance's translation devices, though the meaning remained unclear. Dr. Alara activated the communication device they had prepared, which began projecting the mathematical and symbolic language they had developed together. Simple concepts at first: greeting, peace, cooperation, then gradually increasing in complexity. The humans responded with their own symbolic projections, and for the next several hours, the 2 delegations engaged in this methodical exchange, building understanding, step by tiny step. By the time the first meeting concluded, they had established little more than basic concepts, but Lyra considered it an unqualified success. No misunderstandings had escalated, no security protocols had been breached, and both delegations returned to their vessels with plans for continued exchange. Over the following months, these meetings became regular occurrences. Each time, the communication grew more sophisticated, the exchange of information more substantial. The humans shared details about their civilization, their homeworld, Earth, their expansion to nearby star systems, Their governmental structures, the Alliance, in turn, provided similar information about their 15-member species and collaborative society. Yet, questions remained. The humans never directly addressed the warship incident. Despite careful inquiries from the Alliance delegation, they spoke openly about their defensive capabilities, but deflected questions about specific military assets or strategies. "They're being selective," Sewell noted during a private debriefing after the sixth meeting, sharing culture, science, even some technology concepts, but maintaining firm boundaries around security matters. "As are we," Lyra pointed out. "The Alliance hasn't disclosed our deep space monitoring network or the Quantinium weapons research. The difference," Sewell countered, "is that we know they have observed our defensive capabilities directly. The balance of information remains uneven." Wren, who had developed a particularly productive relationship with the human scientists, offered another perspective. "I believe they're being cautious rather than deceptive. Remember, they have had no prior contact with a multi-species alliance. The complexity of our political structure alone would warrant careful diplomatic approach." Dr. Alara nodded in agreement. "Their language contains numerous indicators of genuine interest in peaceful relations. The linguistic markers for deception that we've identified across other species are notably absent." The breakthrough in trust came unexpectedly. During the eighth formal meeting, the human delegation arrived with a new member, an older individual who, they explained through their now sophisticated translation systems, was a high-ranking diplomatic representative directly from Earth. This human addressed Captain Lyra directly, using a translator device that had been refined through their ongoing exchanges. "Captain, we understand that questions remain regarding our vessel that you encountered near your observation station." Lyra maintained her diplomatic composure, despite her surprise at this direct acknowledgement. "Yes, understanding that incident would help alleviate concerns within the Alliance." The human diplomat nodded. "The vessel you encountered was the UES Prometheus, a deep space exploration and defense ship. Its presence in your territory was unintentional, the result of a navigation error during testing of a new propulsion system." This admission sent ripples through the Alliance delegation. The humans had never before acknowledged any technological limitations or errors. "When your station was detected," the diplomat continued, "standard protocol dictated comprehensive scanning to assess potential threat. However, when your captain disabled defensive systems in a clear gesture of peace, our commander recognized the opportunity for first contact." "The red lighting systems?" Lyra inquired. A slight smile crossed the human's face. "Standard operating mode for our vessels during unknown encounters. We have since learned that the color carries threatening connotations for several of your species. A cultural misunderstanding we regret." This explanation, delivered with apparent candor, marked a turning point in the negotiations. The human willingness to acknowledge a mistake, even a minor one, and their confirmation that the encounter had indeed been accidental rather than a deliberate incursion, created space for deeper trust. In the months that followed, relations expanded rapidly. Exchange programs were established, allowing specialists from both civilizations to study alongside one another. Trade negotiations began, focusing initially on knowledge and cultural artifacts rather than physical resources or technology. Beacon 9 transformed from a distant observation post to a thriving hub of human alliance cooperation. New modules were constructed specifically to accommodate human visitors, accounting for their unique biological needs and cultural preferences. Similar facilities were established in human territory for Alliance representatives. Captain Lyra, whose decisive actions during the first encounter had prevented potential conflict, received the highest commendation from the Alliance Council. She was appointed as the permanent diplomatic liaison to humanity, a position that would require her to divide her time between Beacon 9 and the newly established human embassy. On the eve of her departure for her first extended stay in human territory, Lyra found herself once again on the observation deck of Beacon 9, gazing out at the stars. Major Wren joined her, his quiet presence a familiar comfort after their years of service together. "It's remarkable how quickly fear can transform into friendship," Lyra observed, watching as a human transport vessel docked with the station. A few months ago, that sight would have triggered station-wide panic. "Fear comes from ignorance," Wren replied. "The more we learn about humans, the less mysterious, and therefore less frightening, they become." "Yet mysteries remain," Lyra noted. "They still guard certain aspects of their civilization closely." "As do we," Wren reminded her. "Trust builds slowly, especially between species with such different evolutionary paths. But the foundation is strong." Lyra nodded, taking comfort in this truth. The path from that first alarming glimpse of a human warship to the current state of budding alliance had not been straight or simple. Challenges remained, and would likely always exist when bridging the vast differences between civilizations. But the alternative, allowing fear to dictate their response, would have closed doors that now stood open, revealing possibilities neither humans nor the Alliance had imagined before their paths crossed. "The universe is vast," Lyra said softly. "But fear makes it smaller. Courage, the willingness to reach out despite uncertainty, that expands our horizons beyond measure." As if in response to her words, the stars seemed to pulse more brightly, each one a beacon of potential discovery and connection in the infinite cosmos that they were only beginning to truly explore, together. 2 years after the historic first meeting, the relationship between humanity and the Alum Alliance had evolved in ways few could have predicted. What began as cautious diplomatic exchange had blossomed into a robust partnership that spanned multiple star systems. Joint research initiatives thrived. Cultural exchange programs attracted participants from all Alliance species, and preliminary defense coordination had begun, though still limited in scope. Captain Lyra, now Ambassador Lyra, had become the face of Alliance relations with humanity. Her quarters on Earth's orbital diplomatic station afforded her a stunning view of the blue planet that had given rise to their new partners. She had grown accustomed to the higher gravity and the peculiarities of human social customs, finding unexpected joy in the complexity of their interactions. "Ambassador, the human delegation has arrived for the Security Council meeting," announced her assistant, a young officer from her home world who had shown exceptional aptitude for cross-species diplomacy. Lyra nodded, gathering her materials. Today's meeting would address one of the remaining sensitive areas in their developing relationship: integrated defense protocols for the newly established buffer zone between human and Alliance territories. The meeting chamber represented the best of both civilizations' architectural philosophies. The sweeping organic forms preferred by most Alliance species, combined with the bold geometric precision that humans favored. Around a circular table sat representatives from both sides, their number carefully balanced to ensure equal voice. Admiral Chen Wei, commander of humanity's Outer Rim Fleet, led the human delegation. Over the past year, Lyra had developed a professional respect for the admiral, whose thoughtful approach to security matters balanced necessary caution with genuine commitment to peaceful cooperation. "Ambassador Lyra," the admiral greeted her with the customary human gesture of respect, a slight bow that had been adopted specifically for Alliance interactions. "I trust your stay on Station Unity has been comfortable." "Quite, Admiral," Lyra responded, "though I'm still adjusting to your day-night cycle. 24 hours seems curiously arbitrary compared to the cosmic standard." This small joke, reflecting the ongoing friendly debate between human and Alliance scientists about standardizing time measurements, brought smiles to several faces around the table, easing the tension that naturally accompanied security discussions. "Today, we addressed the proposed joint patrol protocols for the Proxima Corridor," Lyra began, activating the holographic display in the center of the table. Our respective defensive capabilities have different strengths. Integration would benefit both our civilizations." The admiral nodded, adding, "Human vessels excel at rapid response and pinpoint engagement. Alliance technology offers superior sensor ranges and shield harmonics. Combined, they create a defense network stronger than either alone." What followed was hours of detailed discussion: vessel specifications, command structures, communication protocols, rules of engagement. Though technical, these matters touched on the core of sovereignty and trust, requiring delicate negotiation. The Alliance Council has concerns about the proposed response scenarios for Category 3 incursions, noted Major Wren, who had joined the Security Committee due to his extensive knowledge of human technology. Specifically, the automatic weapons authorization in subsection 17B. Admiral Chenwei nodded thoughtfully. "A valid concern. Our protocols developed in isolation, shaped by our particular historical experiences. Perhaps we can establish a dual authorization requirement instead?" This willingness to adapt, to find middle ground without demanding the other side, simply adopt existing procedures, characterize the most successful aspects of human alliance relations. By day's end, they had reached agreement on most technical points, with only a few matters reserved for higher-level approval. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Chenwei approached Lyra privately. "Ambassador, if you have time, there's a matter I'd like to discuss outside official channels." Intrigued, Lyra agreed, following the Admiral to a small observation lounge overlooking Earth. The room cleared discreetly, leaving them alone with the spectacular planetary vista. "Beautiful, isn't it?" the Admiral said, gazing at his homeworld. "Sometimes I wonder how differently we might have developed if Earth had been less isolated, if we had encountered the Alliance earlier in our expansion." "History follows the path it does," Lyra observed. "We can only shape what lies ahead." "Indeed." The Admiral turned to face her directly. "Which brings me to the reason for this conversation. Our long-range exploration vessels have detected unusual energy signatures beyond the Perseus Arm, patterns unlike anything in either human or Alliance records." Lyra felt a familiar tension, the same she had experienced when they had first detected the human warship 2 years earlier. "You believe it's evidence of another civilization?" "We cannot be certain. But the distribution and frequency suggest artificial origin rather than natural phenomena." The Admiral's expression grew more serious. "We've also detected quantum disturbances consistent with large-scale space-time manipulation, potentially a propulsion technology beyond even our current theoretical models." "You're proposing joint exploration," Lyra surmised, quickly grasping the implications. "More than that. A combined mission, human and Alliance specialists working together from the outset, not just to investigate these anomalies, but to present a unified front if they do indeed represent first contact with another spacefaring civilization." The proposal was bold, unprecedented in its scope. It suggested a level of integration and trust that exceeded even the most optimistic projections for human Alliance relations at this stage. "The Alliance Council will have reservations," Lyra acknowledged, "as will many human political factions. I suspect." "Undoubtedly," the Admiral agreed. "Change never comes without resistance. But consider the alternative: separate approaches, uncoordinated first contact, potential misunderstandings like those we narrowly avoided ourselves." Lyra thought back to that tense standoff, how close they had come to conflict born of fear and misinterpretation. "I will present your proposal to the Council, Admiral, with my full support." In the weeks that followed, debates raged across both human and Alliance governance structures. Conservatives on both sides warned against premature integration, citing cultural differences and security concerns. Progressives argued that facing the unknown together offered greater safety than maintaining artificial separation. Eventually, compromise was reached. The joint mission would proceed, but with clearly defined operational parameters and emergency protocols allowing either party to withdraw if necessary. The vessel designed for this historic mission represented the pinnacle of both civilizations' technologies. Named Horizon Bridge in human languages, and an untranslatable musical tone sequence in the primary Alliance communication form. It incorporated human quantum drive systems with Alliance sensor technology, human tactical systems with Alliance shields. Captain Lyra, returning temporarily to her military rank for this mission, would co-command alongside a human captain, each leading crews from their respective civilizations. Major Wren would serve as Chief Science Officer, working with a human counterpart to develop new communication protocols should they encounter the mysterious presence. On the day of launch, representatives from all 15 Alliance species joined human dignitaries in the observation bay, watching as the Horizon Bridge departed from the massive construction facility where it had been built. This vessel represents more than technological achievement, the human Secretary General said in her address. It embodies the principle that diversity creates strength, that different evolutionary paths can converge toward common purpose. The Alliance High Counselor added, 2 years ago, our people stood at the precipice of misunderstanding and fear. Today, we venture together into the unknown, carrying the light of cooperation into the darkness of unexplored space. As the Horizon Bridge activated its main drive, disappearing into the quantum slip that would carry it toward the mysterious signals, Captain Lyra stood on the bridge, surrounded by the combined expertise of two civilizations that had once feared each other. Course set for the Perseus boundary, reported the human navigation officer. Sensors calibrated for long-range anomaly detection, added an Alliance specialist. Lyra exchanged glances with her human co-commander, both aware of the historical weight of the moment. Whatever they might discover in the depths of unexplored space, they would face it, not as separate species divided by fear, but as partners united in courage and curiosity. Engage quantum drive, they ordered in unison, their voices blending as the stars beyond the view screen stretched and transformed, carrying them toward new horizons and possibilities yet unimagined. The fear that had once gripped the Alliance at the mere glimpse of a human warship had transformed into something far more powerful. Hope for a future where diversity created strength, where understanding conquered fear, and where the vast cosmos would be explored by civilizations who had learned that reaching out in friendship, even in the face of the unknown, was the truest form of courage. As the Horizon Bridge vanished into the quantum stream, observers from both civilizations shared a moment of silent unity, bound by the understanding that the greatest adventures arise not from isolation, but from the willingness to extend a hand, or whatever appendage one might possess, across the void of difference, transforming strangers into allies and fear into friendship. The stars awaited, their ancient light a beacon, calling the united explorers forward into a future limited only by imagination and illuminated by the shared wisdom of two civilizations who had looked beyond fear to find something far more valuable: each other.